Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the Pole Position podcast. I'm Sports News Blitz F1 writer Henry Eccles,
And I'm Nicole Powell, the Deputy Content Editor at Sports News Blitz.
and we're here today to discuss the Singaporean Grand Prix. Normally, not a lot of overtakes to talk about at a twisty and tight track at Singapore, but there is still plenty to discuss. I think the first place to start would be the statement win for George Russell in that Mercedes. I don't think many of us were expecting him to have the weekend that he had, just because that Mercedes can be really difficult in warmer conditions, and with conditions at 60 degrees Celsius in the cockpit, 80 degrees humidity, maybe 90. I don't think anybody was expecting Russell to have the weekend that he did. Nicole, how do you reflect on his weekend?
Yeah, I didn't expect Mercedes anywhere near the front, and Russell came out of there on Saturday and was almost 4 tenths ahead of Piastri in qualifying. Was how many seconds ahead of Verstappen? Just a bit over.
Nearly two.
Yeah, so that was shocking, but he was, I guess, the man to beat. The pace was there. He was doing well. Antonelli also did well, so clearly Mercedes had the right package, weirdly enough, in a very hot environment. Very unexpected, but yeah, that was a good effort from Russell in particular to get pole position and to win ahead of the McLarens, who are supposed to be the best of everyone, and ahead of Verstappen, who even when he's struggling, he's still somehow always up there. But yeah, what a statement win that was from him, especially considering the time he crashed when he could have won. What was it in 2023?
Yeah. He said himself, it's not been Singapore has not been his best friend, and it's not even just the 2023 crash. That's obviously the big one, but the year before he had an incident with Mick Schumacher. He got a puncture and he finished P14. I think 2 laps down from Sergio Perez. I remember he had that incident with Schumacher, and it was a Russell radio message, sort of saying like,
Blimey or something.
I don't know what's happened there. But I remember Martin Brundle just quickly going, "You just fully turned into him, George." Like that's what happened. And then last year he finished. That was an improvement on 2023, but he still had a really torrid time in the car. And despite a P4 result, we saw him. If you watched Drive to Survive last season, you saw his post race recovery looked really difficult. He was struggling to breathe. Looked like he had a panic attack almost. So, just obviously not his best friend, but he got it done this weekend, and it was so impressive. I mean, to get away from the opening lap chaos as well. Just everything went right. He managed the gap to Verstappen really well, and just as we said, a statement win. He himself made a statement in saying that it was the sort of race that shows how he's stepped up in the last I suppose year or so, and he feels ready to fight for a championship. And I don't think any of us this season anyway can say anything different about Russell. I think he's been fantastic this season.
Yeah, especially in a year where Mercedes have either been up there or nowhere. And yeah, with the whole contract situation, I think he's doing a really good job at trying to secure one, but I don't think Toto's in a rush. But Russell seems to finally be handling the pressure well, because that was a really strong weekend from him, even though he wasn't there the entire weekend. Because I think he talked about how Friday was a bit difficult, and even Saturday, but when it came to Q3, it's like everything just clicked, and he was able to just put the car in the right place at the right time and get pole and win. So yeah, hopefully Toto uses that as can at least say thank you to Russell for that very unexpected win with a contract extension.
Yeah, I mean, he praised him. He called him formidable after the race, and sung his praises. But that then raises the question even more, like what is happening with that contract. it's getting to an illogical stage now, I think, where it doesn't make any sense not to
Both their
renew. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Antonelli, he's looking good in the last. I mean, he's scored points in the last three races for the first time since the very start of the season. So he had like that tricky European spell, but I think the way he has responded to Toto Wolff's criticism, public criticism of him, when he said, I think it was Monza, he said that it was underwhelming, his performance. The way he's responded, P4 in the last round, P5 in this round, and he had a brilliant overtake on Charles Leclerc as well. So, he's back in good spirits, back scoring good points. I don't see why you wouldn't stick with Antonelli. I mean, the talent is clearly there.
Yeah, I think Mercedes can afford to do at least one more season at the same pairing. But speaking of driver pairings in the same team, Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. What did you think of that first lap crash? Well, not crash,
so
incident.
I think what sort of all of the decisions that were made in terms of managed it, I think was correct, because Lando made a really good start, got ahead of Antonelli, did make a really daring move down the inside of Piastri in the sort of turn 2, turn 3, and yeah, I mean, it was scrappy, it was messy. He did hit the back of Verstappen and then sort of almost nudge Piastri into the wall, but I don't think Piastri really had much to stand on in terms of like what he was trying to get out of that situation. I think he really wanted Norris essentially to give the position back, and I don't think it was really an incident that warranted that. I just think that the fact that that's even a talking point, is just a sign of where the papaya rules have gone. That we're looking at every little single detail between the two drivers, and we're looking for a reason to give places, swap places or whatever. It's all very micromanagement, and I wouldn't have liked it if they did do anything to swap back. But I can understand why Piastri was upset, because sort of the papaya rules have kind of of the papaya rules, in that you're not really allowed to hit your teammate, you're not allowed to or make contact with your teammate. It needs to be fair. Has it got to a point where that is Piastri's understanding, that he needs that they need to give that position back to him? I don't know, but if it is, then yes, he's got something there. But to me, it just doesn't make any sense anymore.
Yeah, I think for me was when I saw that Norris hits the back of Verstappen's car, I was like, okay, now it makes sense why he hit Piastri. At first, I was like, okay, that's a bit nasty, but I think he got away with it because of tagging Verstappen's car. But I think for me, what was most shocking was asking Norris if they can let Piastri pit, and Piastri is leading the championship. And Piastri is like also very much in the race as much as Norris is in, and Norris was carrying damage. So if anyone probably has the faster car, it was probably going to be Piastri. But they asked Norris if they want Piastri, if he's okay with letting Piastri pit first. And
yeah, that struck me too. Yeah, I mean that happened. It was similar to what happened at Monza. And I get it, because Norris is the leader out of the two. But yeah, I think after everything that's gone on this season, it probably doesn't, at least in Piastri's mind, it probably doesn't paint the right picture.
Yeah, and consider how close Verstappen is in the standings. You'd think that it would be better to maybe prioritize the driver who has more points, because it will be harder for Verstappen to catch Piastri than it will be for him to catch Norris. So it feels a bit like they're just saying, that they'd rather. It's like they're not trying to hide the fact that Norris is the preferred champion, as they said when they started the season. But yeah, it's just it's not looking very. The papaya roll is just looking very strange and annoying at a very critical time of the season, because
Yeah.
you have what 6 rounds to go, and
Hmm.
Verstappen is still, even though he was struggling with what it was his gearbox that he was struggling with, he couldn't downshift, I think, and he was still in the fight. He was still right there. So I don't think the papaya rules are doing anything to help McLaren or their drivers. I think it's actually helping Verstappen and those
Yep.
around him.
Yep. I agree. And and I was saying to a friend that it would have. I won't be surprised if this week a few things come out about Piastri's future. Not, not nothing concrete, nothing overly reliable has come out, but there's been whispers that from some corners of the media that Ferrari 2027 is a thing apparently, and we don't know where that's coming from. That could just be an angry Mark Webber,
Yeah,
just sort
exactly. I
of
was going to say that. Yeah.
putting things out there. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me because Singapore felt not very, but there were definitely hints of a number one and a number two driver there. And, it's not a surprise to me that then it came out that from unverified reports that Ferrari might be looking at Piastri for 2027. I mean, these are from some, corners of the media that, not the mainstream sort of outlets, but it just wouldn't surprise me if the former number two driver Mark Webber is putting things out there, obviously as Oscar's manager, just to sort of remind people that this is a prized asset, and it would be silly to get rid of him.
Yeah, and Australian media are like really mad. The headlines ever since Sunday have been crazy. And Mark Webber also being Australian is probably also just making the right calls and being like, you know what, maybe kind of push this narrative a bit. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think Oscar, so far it's worked out in his favor having Webber as his manager. He dodged Alpine. Thankfully, everyone was like, okay, but it worked out in his favor. And
Yeah.
I think the only reason Piastri still has a fighting chance at McLaren is because his manager knows exactly what it's like to be a number two driver who has not willingly chosen to be a number two driver, but has basically like been forced to fit into that number two role. So I think Mark Webber is gonna do his best to pull strings from behind, from the back, and just make sure that as you say, this valuable asset is well taken care of. And who knows, maybe
Yeah.
even the Ferrari 2027 um, team lineup comes to fruition, especially if Hamilton retires. But we're not going to talk about that. But
Hmm.
yeah, it could work. I don't think Ferrari is a solution for anyone. But yeah,
Well, they're certainly not. I mean, they had a tough weekend again this weekend. A very tough weekend. Basically, everything that went wrong seemingly did go wrong. I mean, I think I looked at. Well, yeah, everybody looked at Singapore as a track that Ferrari could do reasonably well at, because they tend to do quite well at high downforce tracks, sort of like how they did at Monaco and Barcelona as well. Although maybe not quite as high downforce as Singapore, Barcelona, but qualifying again just let them down. P6, P7 for Hamilton and Leclerc respectively, and they didn't go anywhere with it. And it was brake issues, wasn't it, from the very start, pretty much, that
very
let them
start.
down. Yeah.
Yeah. I think again, like you said, how we were all expecting Ferrari to be somewhere, even though not at the top, considering their history with circuits of the nature, and even Ferrari themselves, and Leclerc and Hamilton have a good relationship with the Marina Bay circuit. So you'd think that you know that they'd be somewhere, but they were just not there, especially during qualifying. I remember Q3 was just so disappointing. They were just nowhere near the pace of those in front. But then again, Russell was in a class of his own, even against the McLarens. But Ferrari just, especially Hamilton, just when it comes to qualifying, they're just not there. But race day, when you think it can't get any worse, it just there's just always a way that Ferrari just, make your day worse. So brake issues right from the start, and then it hit Hamilton particularly hard in the final stint of the race, and he went from looking like a decent points finish to just okay, a penalty and to potential penalty and just losing places because you have no brakes. It was just such a disappointing weekend, and after such a sad week for Lewis Hamilton as well. So just
Yep.
just an off weekend that needs to be written off.
Yeah, really, really poor. I mean, one person that got a good look at Hamilton's issues at the end of the race was Fernando Alonso. He was, let's just say, very unhappy with what he was seeing, screaming at his radio engineer. But he did well. He did very well. Fernando Alonso. He got driver of the day. P10 to P7 in the end. He got bumped up by Hamilton's penalty. I should also mention the little sort of comeback that Hamilton had to Alonso.
On Instagram.
On Instagram. That was good fun. But I don't think Alonso will care very much this weekend anyway, because it was a strong performance in his Aston Martin.
Yeah, I think it was just in the heat of the moment. He was just very angry, but that's a bit expected when you have Hamilton and Alonso on this at the same place. Expect tension, expect a few bites, but apparently Alonso had a good race. We didn't get to see much of that, but he had a good finish. He won driver of the day. He also had a bit of a fight with Isaac Hadjar. I guess mini Lewis Hamilton, considering how much he adores him. So an interesting pair for Alonso to be fighting with. But I think, again, just as he calmed down post race and was actually reflecting on his race, I think, I don't think he'll be focusing too much on that. Although I'm sure maybe Hamilton's response might have riled him up a bit again. But he has a week and a half now to, reset and just do his talking on the track.
Yeah. There was another post that Hamilton put up yesterday on Instagram, and how F1 fans, especially, fans of Hamilton, one of the biggest stars ever in Formula One, microanalyze everything. He put up a video of him running, as he sort of does. He tends to do that sometimes, and the time was 2 minutes past 7, and people saw that and thought, 7, 2. 7 world championships for Hamilton, 2 world championships for Alonso. I mean, I don't know.
A bit of a stretch, but I was like, you never know. You never know. It could have been a little jab, but it's those two have a very, very interesting rivalry. It feels a bit one-sided sometimes, so it's quite nice when we get Hamilton biting back a bit. It's like, we need some drama.
It's all good fun, really. We forgot to mention actually just how well Verstappen did this weekend for Red Bull. How important it was that Red Bull had performed not quite to how they have in the last 2 rounds, but certainly to a high level around Singapore, a track that is very different to the low downforce tracks at Monza and Baku, and just sort of reiterating that Verstappen's gonna try and go all the way in terms of that title fight.
Yeah, he's not far behind. So if McLaren keep having their papaya rules getting in the way, Verstappen is going to be. You see how Russell usually wins some races because he's just in the right place at the right time. The guys in front of him crash out because they're fighting or they have a mechanical failure or something. So if McLaren let their papaya rules get in the way in the remaining rounds, Verstappen is going to be the main man to benefit from all of this. So because he was, as much as he was struggling with his downshifts, he was still very much there and finished the race above the McLaren. So that was a
Yep.
really strong performance from him, despite all the issues he was complaining about on the radio. So McLaren really need to watch out.
Speaking of McLaren and Verstappen, a former McLaren driver, a former teammate of Verstappen, Carlos Sainz, had a really good race once again for Williams. Not quite as strong as his podium finish in Baku, but a P18 to P10 was a very respectable drive. But we didn't get to see much of it, and that's something that he spoke about after the race. He said that he made 4 or 5 really good overtakes, but none of them were really captured, and that was because he said that the F1 TV directors were more focused on the girlfriends or the celebrities involved at F1. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think he was spot on with that because I think I see, especially Leclerc's girlfriend and even Sainz's girlfriend, I see them a lot more than I see overtakes sometimes. You see, when it's a boring race, it's like, okay, I guess we'll just look at anything. But it's like, if there's on track action, we want to see the on track action. I think we even missed the Alonso Hamilton
Yep.
fight because we were looking at the crowd. So, yeah. I think the F1, the TV directors just need to do something about that because it keeps happening. I keep remember it takes me back to the time I think it was Monaco. Something had happened, and then we just saw Lance Stroll. That's what
Yeah,
it reminds
it's a famous one. Yeah.
me of.
Um, yeah, I remember Crofty, Sky's commentator, just going, "Oh, what's happened? We want to know." And it's just Lance Stroll.
Lance Stroll.
Um, yeah, it wasn't great. I mean, as you said, in a at a track where so little sort of happened during the race, and then all of this activity to happen sort of in the last couple of laps, for them to miss that is it's not great.
Yeah,
And and yeah, I do also think that, I mean, celebrity has always been part of Formula One. You know, ever since its very beginning, it's always been glitz and glamour and all that kind of stuff. Um, but it shouldn't lose sight of what it you know what we're really here for, and that's racing.
yeah.
Um, and it did do that in the last few laps of Singapore, which is a shame. Hopefully, the next Grand Prix we get to see a little bit more of the action, and that it's a good one. It's of course the United States Grand Prix in Austin, one of the favourites amongst drivers and fans. Any predictions for that one?
I'm really excited for it. It's usually at very odd hours, but it's a good track. We have like a mix of Silverstone and Suzuka and like what's this track? Hockenheim. We have a really good racetrack here, and it usually has some really good action. So I'm hoping that we can get the Ferraris in there. I'm always hoping we can get the Ferraris in there. But I think Leclerc holds the fastest lap record, so he has that.
Mm-hmm.
Hamilton um, won his last McLaren race there, I think. So, and
Yeah.
he is the most successful driver on the track. This is a track where he's done really well. He's won a title here, if I remember correctly. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm hoping we can get the Ferraris in the mix, but I don't think um, we'll get a Ferrari win. Podium is wishful thinking, but I think we'll get a McLaren 1-2 for the first time in a while,
Mm-hmm.
but not without drama. And I think we will have Max Verstappen on the podium and the Ferraris just behind, with having not done enough to be on the podium. What do you
Yeah, I
think?
think I'd go along with that. I think it should be a track that suits McLaren once again. I mean, there's a little bit of debate as to whether maybe they have fallen behind just at this late stage, maybe behind at least Verstappen's Red Bull. I think that's definitely open for debate, but maybe even Mercedes. They were behind just on pure pace at Singapore anyway. But yeah, I think Austin, it should be logically it should be a track that suits them in terms of medium to high speed. It'll be warmer there as well, and that always tends to favour McLaren. So yeah, a 1-2. I think I'm trying to figure out who out of the two McLarens wins that. I feel like Norris is probably in a better headspace now.
Yeah, let's just see what Papaya rules want this next Grand Prix, because I think that will be the real determinant of which McLaren driver is on the top step.
Yeah, I'll back Norris just because of I think Piastri's perhaps starting to drive a bit angrily, and that does not help, especially towards the end of of the season. And yeah, I'd go Verstappen P3 as well. I don't hold much hope out for Ferrari, unfortunately, but you never know. F1 is a strange sport.
Yeah, it's a very strange sport. I'm just trying to remember the race. I think it was 2023 when Hamilton and Vettel were fighting for the race win, and Verstappen won the race naturally, but they were there unexpectedly. So maybe Ferrari will also be there unexpectedly. Who knows?
Yep.
Who knows?
Yep. Who knows? But hopefully it's a good one, and yeah, hopefully we can catch all the action. But yeah, that's it from us. Thanks, Nicole, for joining me, and yeah, let's hope for a good race in Austin.
Right. See you guys for the next one.